Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you brow shaping. So whether you watch the microblading video or not, or whether you need microblading video or not, this is pretty important because brows are a really important part of the face. They really help to frame your eyes and give your face some bone structure. And if your brows tend to really be disappearing a bit, this can make a huge difference in how your makeup looks every day. Honestly, some days I'll do foundation and brows, and that's pretty much it. Maybe a little lip gloss, something like that. So it's important that you learn how to do your brows properly because it really does make a difference, especially in how your eyes look. So the first thing I would say is if you are currently getting your eyebrows waxed, and the person who does your waxing takes a ton of hair out of these inside corners of your brows right here and here, and they take them to, way out here, you need to get someone different to do your waxing because that can really unbalance your face. I'm going to show you a technique called brow mapping, and this is how to determine where your brow should start, arch, and end. And all you need to do this is maybe a brush, makeup brush, something like that. Even a pen, if you don't have a makeup brush handy, a pen will work just as well. A makeup brush just works because you can mark. You can also do this with an eyebrow pencil so that you can mark your little spaces. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a brush and a brow pomade. Today what I'm doing is I'm using products from both Hourglass and Anastasia. This is Anastasia Dip Brow. It looks like this, and I'm just going to dip the corner, the very tip of my brush into that very lightly. I don't want a ton of product on it. Okay, so I'm dipping the long end of that brush into the product because I want to use this to do my brow mapping. So the way that you do brow mapping is this. You need to be able to look straight into a mirror. Okay, you don't want to be at an angle, you don't want to turn your head side to side, you want to look straight in the mirror. And you want to put this brush right to the center of your nostril, okay, so that it goes straight up and down from the center of the nostril, not the inner corner of the eye. And you want to put a little mark right there. You see that little mark I just made? Right there. And then you go to the other side and you do that exact same thing. So I'm looking in a mirror here, so it's a little hard to do in the video. There we go. So you can kind of see that. So you go straight up and down and you put a little mark there. Okay, and then you're just kind of checking that they're about the same level this way. You want them to be about the same level straight across. Okay, so that's your first guideline. Your second guideline is when you're looking straight in the mirror is you go from here, right? You've got that initial mark, and then you tilt so that you're going straight through the pupil of the eye. That's how you determine about where your arch should be. Now, I'm going to place that there because I want to show you something interesting. It's important that you determine how much space there is between your eyes. Okay? Are your eyes close together? Are they even set or are they wide set? Now, the way that you determine that is there the width of an eye between your eyes? Okay, so sometimes what I'll do is I'll just take a brush and I'll measure and then go over to the other side and measure, and my eyes are close set. They're almost even, but they're a little bit close set. There's not quite the width of an eye between my eyes. If there's more than the width of an eye between your eyes, you're wide set. If it's the same, you're even set. Because my eyes are close set, I want to take the arch of this brow out just a bit more because I want to visually try to pull the look of the eyes apart, right? This is about the thirds of the face and balancing those thirds of the face. So I always take my arch just a bit outside there. So I'm just going to put a little mark to show you. So this first one is the mark through the pupil of my eye. This is where I take my arch out to in order to visually pull the eyes apart a bit. Okay? So then I'm going to do the other side, going back to the center point and then tilting through the arch, or through the pupil of the eye, and then taking it out just a tiny bit. Now, this is because I have close set eyes. If you have wide set eyes, you want to do the opposite. When you do this and you go through the pupil, and you get that mark, you want to take your arch in just a bit, closer to the center of the eye, because that's going to visually pull everything in a little bit when your eyes are wide set. Your last mark is going to be along the side of the nose, so not the nostril anymore. Now we're going through the side of the nose and through the outer corner of the eye, and you put a mark there to show where the brow should end. Okay, it looks like that. So through the side of the nose, through the outer corner of the eye, and put a mark there. Okay, so now you can see I've got those areas marked, right? I've got a little mark right here in the inner corner. I've got my arch out here, and then I've got the tail ending there. Okay, you can see it on the other side as well. So once you've got those guidelines, it really helps. And you only have to do that the first couple of times that you do your brows, and then you'll be able to see it after that. So that was using a brow pomade called Dip Brow. And you can do a couple of different things. There are different types of products I'm going to show you. This is Dip Brow, so this is a pomade. It's almost like a creamy, waxy type product with tint in it. Anastasia also makes Dip Brow in this form. It's almost like a gel, brow gel form. I'll show you what that looks like. It comes with a little brush on the end so that you can just brush through the brows very easily, or you can use a brush like this that I used for the Dip Brow pomade, and you can just swipe your brush across. Can you see that? Swipe your brush across the bristles and then use the brush to actually place the color. The interesting thing about this, these brow gels normally only stick to hair. This particular one from Anastasia also sticks to skin. So that's really important if you have areas where you don't have any hair left. Before I got my microblading done, I had no hair at all from here down to the tail. I literally only had brows from here to here. If you look at my microblading video, there's in the comments below is a before and after, and you'll be able to see how little brows I had left before I got microblading done. So this type of product is really good. This one from Anastasia especially is really good when you need to put color where you don't have any hair there. So you can do this a couple of different ways. So what you can do is you can use your Dip Brow first and fill, kind of do the structure of the brow, and then you can use the pomade or the gel to fill it in. Or you can fill completely with this. One of the advantages of Dip Brow in a pomade is that you can go from a very natural look to a really bold look pretty easily. A lot of other products you can't do that with. A lot of other products will give you just one type of look. This one you can really vary quite a bit. The color that I'm using is taupe because it's the most ashy. So when you have gray hair, you don't want to go too dark all the time, and you want to use a color that has an ash tone in it, not a warm tone. If it goes too warm, it's either going to look orange or it's going to look really yellow, and that doesn't work well with gray hair. So try to look for a taupe or an ash color. The other type of product that I have, I've got this same kind of brow gel on a brush. This one is called Arch from Hourglass. There's a little brand called Hourglass that's awesome. They're a little niche brand and they're amazing. They make great products. This is a brow gel that you can brush in. This one does not stick to skin as much as the Anastasia one does. So this is a really good product if you already have some brow hair there. If you don't have a lot of big empty gaps. And then the other product I'm going to use is this pencil from Hourglass. And this color is called Ash, and it's literally the perfect color for gray hair. If you are gray, this is the brow pencil to use if you want to use a pencil. It has kind of like that beveled edge on it, if you can see that. So it's really easy to use. The formula is also fairly soft, but it's also waterproof. So once you put that, it's easy to use, and once you put it on, it will stay there all day. It's not moving. It's not coming off. So I really, really enjoy these Hourglass pencils. They're one of my favorites. So the first thing, I'm going to do a little bit of each on each brow so that you can kind of see how these products work and what they look like. So I'm going to start with the Dip Brow. I'm just going to lightly tap my brush in. I don't want to take too much product here. And then I'm going to brush it off on the end. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do this brow with this product and the Anastasia Dip Brow Gel. And then I'm going to do the other side with Hourglass with a pencil and the gel so that you can see the difference. The technique is the same though. So once you've got your brow mapping done and your marks, what you're going to do is you're going to lay this brush down with the long end toward the inside of the brow. And you're going to very lightly sketch a straight line from here up to the arch on the underside of the brow. So you can see how it makes a straight line. So I want you to think in straight lines instead of a curve. Instead of following the curve of the brow, I'm going to make a straight line there and then a straight line from here down to the tail. See how it's very light? It's not terribly dark. So now, on the underside of the brow, you've got that really nice structure already laid out for you. Okay, can you see that? All right, so once you've got that line along the bottom edge, go back in with a tiny bit more product. It doesn't need to be much. And then what you're going to do is you're going to lay that brush down, right? I'm laying it kind of flat, and I'm pressing from that bottom line upward. So I'm pressing the color from that line that I just sketched up into the brow. And the inner part of the brow, I'm going upward because that's really the way that the hair grows there. And then as I move through the center of the brow, I'm going outward and following the hair growth. So I'm just lightly filling in. I don't want this to be terribly dark. And then I'm going a straight line from the top of the arch down to the tail to really finish out that shape. Now, the one thing that dip brow will not do in the pomade form like this is it doesn't really cover a lot of the gray hairs, right? I do have some gray in my brows, and it doesn't really cover that very well, which is why I then like to go in with a gel product on a brush and use that over the top because that's what's going to cover the gray. You can see that now there's a really nice shape, there's a really nice arch, but it still looks pretty natural. It doesn't really look like I put too much in there. And we'll take those little marks out in a minute here. But you can see that it's got a really nice shape now, and you can see the difference between one and the other. Look at what a difference that makes. I'm going to go in with a tiny bit more, just tapping it very lightly, making sure I brush it off. And you can also take your brush and take that long end and point it downward, and then go in here, sorry, wrong brow, and go straight up right here in this inner corner, and that gives you a little bit more. You can see one little space here where it looks like it needs just a little more color. See that? It's empty. So I'm going to go in there and just add a bit more just to balance it out. There. Okay, so you can see what a difference that makes. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my Anastasia Dip Brow Gel, and I'm really going to brush a lot of this product off on the top. I don't want a lot of excess product in here. And then I'm going to use a very light touch. I'm not going to press hard at all. And I'm just going to go over what I just did so that that brow gel darkens the brow and it covers any gray hairs that I've got there. Now, the other thing that these gels have is they have little fibers added to them. And so they add some fullness and dimension to the brow. Now, see what I did there where I got just a little bit too much? All you have to do is just take either your finger or a little Q-tip or something like that and just lightly soften that out, and it fixes it, which is really nice about this product. So you can go in and you can add as much color and as much fullness as you want, like that. And now my color is really close to these darker tones in my hair, which is what I want, but it's still a really nice ashy color. It doesn't really change a whole lot. It doesn't go yellow, it doesn't go orange. And then what I can do is I can just take a little bit of a, like a concealer brush or something like that, and just soften in this inner corner a little bit, clean that up, clean up that mark that we made, and just pull those marks off that I made for the arch and the tail. And you can really clean up the look of that. So it's nice and clean. So that's how I do my brows, so that they still look fairly natural, but they have a lot of strength to them. I need my brow to have some strength. Just because my bone structure is not terribly strong. So if my brow is a little stronger, it really helps. If you have super strong bone structure, do a soft brow, because if you do too hard a brow or a really defined, super defined brow, it's going to make your bone structure look too hard, and it can be a little bit aging. So on the other side, I'm going to use this Hourglass pencil. This is a beveled edge to the pencil, and so what you can do is you can lay it down flat and use this flat part right here, or you can flip it over and use this little tip, if you can see that. So we're going to do the other brow with this, but the technique's exactly the same. So I'm using this just the way that I use the brush. I'm laying it down flat. I'm sketching, very lightly sketching a straight line from right here up to the arch. And I'll show you the way that you know that this is right, in the right place, is because this part of the brow should point right at this bone structure, right here and right here. So you just want it to point at that bone structure. And don't worry too much about making your brows completely identical. You actually don't want them identical. You want them slightly different, because the sides of your face are different. And so if they're too identical, it looks very fake. So now I've got that one sketched out with the pencil. So it's really kind of the same thing. The other nice thing about this is it's got a little spoolie on the end. So if you get anything too dark, you can take this and just brush that upward into the brow and soften it out if you feel like your line was too dark. It's super easy to do, and it blends out just beautifully. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to twist it up just a tiny bit more. And I'm going to use this little point end, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did with the pomade. I'm going from that bottom line straight up, and I'm making little hair strokes. Now, I am using a very light touch with this pencil. I'm not pressing hard at all. That's the big mistake that most people make with their brows, is when they use a pencil, they press way too hard. And that's why you get that really fake look. So I'm using this pencil almost as if I would use a brush. Almost little light brush strokes, and then from here down. And then I'm just going to take my spoolie and brush through so that it's very soft. Okay, so you can see it's got some nice structure, but it's not too harsh, it's not too strong. You can really control how much product you get, how thick your brow is. The thickness of the brow is dependent on how high the forehead is, and you can see I don't make mine very thick because my forehead's not very high. If you have a higher forehead, you can do a thicker brow this way, right? But I need to keep mine somewhat thin, otherwise it sort of takes over my forehead, which is not fun, as you can imagine. And then I'm going to use a little bit of the arch pomade. You can see this brush is really long on one end and kind of short on the other. So if you need more color, use that short end. If you want to add a good amount of color, use that short end first and very lightly apply that. And then use the long end when you don't want as much color, but you just want to brush through the brow to cover the grays. So just brush through. Good. And then you can always take your little spoolie from your pencil and just brush through that as well. Okay, this brow gel is a softer formula, so it does move around a bit more until it sets. So as you can see I got a little bit right up there. That's okay. Don't worry if you make tiny little mistakes like that. I can literally even take, because this product is not meant to stick to skin, I can take that and just brush it right away with my finger. It's not a problem at all. Take your concealer brush and brush away your extra little marks that you made. Brush through that inner corner a little bit. Okay. And so now I've got two completely different products on, but they actually look pretty similar. They're not terribly different in terms of the colors and in terms of the way the brow actually looks. This one looks a little bit stronger. It's a little bit darker because the color I used is a little darker, where this side is a little softer and a little bit ashier. So it's really personal preference on whether you like that stronger, darker look or whether you like the softer, ashier look. There's really no right or wrong there. It's really just personal preference. Now I want to show you, I'm going to darken, no, sorry, this one a little bit. So I want to show you how to use this product with a brush, because I'm going to add a little bit of this color to the other brow. So you take your brush like this, a little angled brush. Now, there are brow brushes that are angled like this that have a little spoolie on the other end. This is actually an eyeliner brush. So I'm using this because it has a thinner profile right here, and I like to be able to do brush strokes that mimic the microblading. So it's just a thinner brush. So I like to use this one rather than a thicker brow brush. So I'm taking this and just very lightly dabbing it on the bristles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with this, and the brush is straight up and down. And I'm just going to add in almost like little hair strokes here, just to darken this up a bit. So you can just add little hair strokes and go right through the brow with it. And I can do almost the whole brow with just that little bit that I put on the brush. It doesn't need very much at all. So I'm just darkening this up to the color of the other brows so that they match. Good. And then I'm going to go back to my spoolie and just soften it out. Get a tiny bit under there, so I'm just going to brush that away with my finger. Good. Tiny bit more right out here. Just adding in that color a tiny bit at a time. So the type of product that you use doesn't really matter so much. Some of it is just ease of use for you, just what is easiest and what you like the best. Sometimes if you need it to be really fast, you don't have a lot of time like this to do your brows, you can just use a product like this. Like these brow gels are really great because you can just brush them in and go, especially if you've already got a good amount of hair there. It's only if you are losing your eyebrows a lot and you need some more structure that you might want to do a pencil or a pomade type product. So take one last look at that. See how they're not identical? One's a little thicker than the other. That's okay. Different sides of your face are different. It's called bilateral separation, and it's totally okay for them to be a little bit different from each other. All right, hope that helps a lot. Put your comments and questions below, and subscribe to my channel, please, and follow me on Instagram at Silver Beauty Life, and take a look at my blog at silverbeautylife.com. Can you tell I can't speak today? silverbeautylife.com. Thank you so much for watching Scene Beauty, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.